Club for this edition of the Autumn Gold Curling Classic, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Jack Moss here, and I'm with Lisa Parent.
So Jack, just before we start the game, why don't you introduce yourself? I know we've commentated earlier this week, but just a refresh.
Well, I'm a longtime Calgarian. I started curling actually in the old club that burned down about 50 years ago in the same location, and played a lot in Calgary with my father and my brothers, and more recently with my family team at the Glencoe Club. And how about you, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm a longtime Calgarian as well, lived here my whole life, and just been part of the curling community, curled for a long time. Recently quit, but now we are here commentating, which is almost just as fun as being on the ice, in my opinion.
And I think we're in for a couple of really good games here. The feature game is Corin Brown and the Nakamura team. And on sheet 6 is Gim and Beth Peterson. Now, Brown's earlier game was a real shootout. Three enders in that game. And so we're hoping to see a lot of that firepower in this game. Nakamura, on the other hand, played a very conservative game, so this could be quite a contrast in styles, but we'll see how it develops.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch Brown or Nakamura last game. I did watch Gim playing, and they had a strong showing against Hunkin. It was a close game the entire way, so I think all of these games will be really close. I mean, that's what you always expect out of a semifinal, right?
Exactly.
You gotta go. You really gotta go.
All right, so we do have Team Brown starting with the hammer, just based on seeding and who was higher ranked going into this game.
So these two teams have played already in this Bonspiel, and Brown came out on top in the earlier game, scoring a deuce in the final end to win 6-4. So Brown is coming out of the B, and Nakamura came out of the C.
Now, I believe shooting lead rocks for Nakamura is lead Hayori, and please feel free to correct our pronunciation in the chat. Definitely a little uneasy about our pronunciation on some of these names, but we're definitely going to try our best, and yeah, I'm excited to be commentating this game.
Throwing lead for Corin Brown is Samantha Fisher.
Same weight. Clean.
So, right off the bat, seems like it's going to be a pretty clean end while both of these teams figure out the ice conditions.
Hard to stick.
From what I've seen, the ice conditions have been pretty consistent throughout the entire weekend, but as we know, with less people out on the ice, there's only 2 games out right now. Last game there were 8 teams out there, so that could definitely affect the ice conditions. So both teams just playing conservative here, trying to make sure that they know what's going on before they get into a ruckus.
In speaking with the athletes, they've been impressed with the ice. They've enjoyed the ice, but there was some speculation that because it's so warm outside in Calgary today, that the ice potentially could be a little bit soft on the outside of the sheets, making some of those draws a little bit trickier. And we did see a couple of teams in the earlier events that were maybe a bit tentative about throwing draws to the forefoot. We'll have to watch that and see what these teams do. We're going to start out, it looks like, with a very clean end. First rock goes in, and then they're just trading right now.
Sam's close.
So these teams did just come off of a game
Sam's
a
close.
few minutes ago, and they may just be working their way into this, testing the ice, trying to find out how it's running, and playing conservatively, waiting for a chance to try and get an early deuce if they can. On Brown's part, Nakamura, of course, waiting to see maybe trying to keep the game really close scoring, as she's done in some previous games.
Now this Team Brown team, obviously coming out of BC, Skip Corinne Brown, she is from Kamloops, BC actually, and she has a whole lot of titles to her name, and anyone who has been on the Canadian curling scene for a while would know Corinne Brown's name. She's a BC champion in 2020, a Canadian junior champion back in 2013, Canadian junior bronze medalist in 2015. She has been to a lot of nationals, and as well with a lot of her teammates. Erin Pincott also was at that BC Championships in 2020. Now,
Always room.
I could be wrong, but I do think the second, Jennifer Armstrong, is more new to the team. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she's from St. John's, New Brunswick. So
There you go, coast to coast.
I'd have to double check their Instagram to see when she joined the team, but I'm assuming it wasn't as long as the back end has been playing together.
Well, you've had the opportunity, Lisa, to play against the Brown team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's first of all, she's just a lovely person, very nice, and just judging by the way their team holds themselves out on the ice, they're very nice people. And Corinne Brown's just been a very consistent player from day one, always a threat when you're playing her. But I'm excited to get to know more about this Nakamura team and see how they play and what their style's like. And you mentioned that earlier, Jack, that they weren't playing as aggressive most of the weekend. Is that true?
From what I've seen, no, they like to keep the game tight and take their chances when it presents itself, when they present themselves without too much risk. So they just came off the ice against Satsuki Fujisawa's team, and a really good game. And they managed to win that one in an extra end. I think it's the second time in a row that they've beaten Fujisawa.
And just got a comment that Brown's former second is now with Sturmey. So there was some flip-flops. And actually, yes, that does make sense now that I think about it. Seeing Sturmey's team out on the ice earlier.
9-5.
Yeah, so opting to just hit and roll to a center guard or potentially in the house on this rock instead of peeling. So it's clear that, they want to keep it clean, but they also do want to have something in play, some rocks in play, a rock in the control zone. And they're not throwing a ton of weight at this. This is definitely hit and roll weight, not peel weight.
Okay, here's an opportunity then for Brown. We've got the corner guard set up fairly late in the end. So test out the ice here.
Room. Line's good. Hard then. Line's great. Hard, girls. Curl if you can.
So this is third Erin Pincott off of Team Brown, and briefly talked about her earlier. Canadian junior champion, Canadian junior bronze medalist, been playing with Corinne Brown for a while now.
Can't tell if that one's biting or not. It looks like it is, but it's certainly close enough that Nakamura has to deal with it.
Yeah, to me it looks like it's biting. It's hard when we don't have a direct over-camera shot, but we work with what we got, and I agree, Jack. I think if they're making a move on it, it must be in.
Yeah, so Skip Miori Nakamura is holding the broom. Masaka Tanaka being called for a lightweight hit and roll into the rings. They want to get some space on this one away from that corner guard. One of the things that really interest me in these games is the communication that goes on within the team. There's should always, to be very effective, there should always be a conversation going on as the rock is going down, and it has to be a conversation between the sweepers and the line caller. Everyone has to be on the same page, but they have to be able to hear each other, so they should not all be shouting at the same time.
Nice tenure.
You've done your share of skipping, Lisa, as
We're on
well
the
as
9-8 side, if anything.
as your share of sweeping when you played front end.
I have. I personally think everyone should play every position once in their life. I know that for career skips, that might be tough to sell them on, but even if it's
Oh, it's
just
big,
in
it's
league
big, it's
play, getting to
Oh.
play a different position just makes you realize how tough it can be sometimes when you have those miscommunications. This is a little bit on the wide side here. But getting the chance to play every position, I believe, would strengthen your communication as a team. So just switching things up in leagues, or even if you go to a bonspiel that's maybe not as important, switch up your team. You know, put the skip at lead, put the lead at skip, and you guys will realize how tough each of those jobs really is.
Well, and each position does have its own different nuances, so it's important to know what the other players on the team are trying to do all of the time, what they need to do, and help each other out. Now, Brown had just rolled out on that open hit, and so Nakamura going behind, Tanaka throwing the rock, going behind the guard, trying to force, likely.
Yeah, just a little mistake there on that rollout, bound to happen in the first end. Hitting sticks are a lot harder than you would think they are. Yeah, I don't know if that rock that Brown threw, if that just kind of fell outwards or what happened there. But giving
How much do you have of it?
Nakamura the chance to sneak one in behind there. Obviously, Tanaka throwing fourth rocks, but Nakamura in the house calling the game, which you've seen a lot more in the past couple years, teams doing that.
Well, and occasionally you'll see even a lead might call the game,
Yeah.
throw lead rocks and then call the game. So now Brown is trying to hit this rock, roll out, blank the end, maintain the hammer for the second end. One of the things that teams will often do is they'll have a strategy going into the game, and they should have a strategy for each particular end as well. So going into this one, Brown would be quite happy with a blank in the first
Clean
end.
it! Yes!
They want to look at who has last rock in the even ends, and it's always helpful to have last rock at the end of the game.
And that rock is gone. Brown picks up the hammer into the second end after blanking that one. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in a few. Welcome back. Just on the sheet next to us here, we see Gim and Peterson. Looks like Gim just drew in for the single in the first end there, and we'll try to update you all throughout the game. Obviously, there's only 2 sheets out on the ice, so when we can, we'll try to update you. Oh, 2.
It was actually a 2. they had a little kicker over in the
They must have.
side in the 8-foot. Yeah.
It must have been one hiding there.
Yeah.
But yes, 2 for Gim. Now, Gim actually on that sheet, they were the 2022 Autumn
Line's
Gold
good.
Curlers Corner champions. So they are trying to hold on to their title by winning this game against Peterson, getting to the final.
And they're really a good quality, solid team, top to bottom. Highly ranked in the world, 4th, I think. Not sure of that, but I think they're ranked about 4th in the world.
They're a strong team. I remember when I had to play them, it was always a little bit nerve-wracking playing that team because they're very strong. Their communication is on another level. They talk through every shot. If you see actually their front end players, every skips rock, they come down the ice, they clean the entire path of that ice, and speak to their skip, speak to their third. Just a very strong team, and they're very, very thorough, I will say.
And Team Nakamura starting out this end, throwing rock into the rings. Brown had thrown one to the side.
Keep it out there if you can.
Now we're back
Keep
to
it out there if you
to
can.
the original position
Got to sit
after
for
a
line.
hit and roll out.
Line's good. It's got to sit for line.
Lead Samantha Fisher throwing this stone.
Trying to get that corner guard established.
16.
Samantha Fisher, a little bit about her. She's currently living in Kamloops, BC. She was the Canadian Junior Champion in 2013. Back in 2015, she was a Canadian Junior Bronze medalist. Won a couple titles at the University Games and also a Canada Winter Games gold medal in 2011. And lead Hayori throwing this stone for Nakamura. Looking to place this one about top 4, it looks like. Beautiful. Didn't even have to sweep it.
So I don't think that Brown minds that very much. She'll be looking for a hit and a roll behind her corner
The
guard.
roll's more important.
Yeah.
Do you want to go
With
10
that
for
corner
the rail,
guard
10
there,
5?
they might be able
Okay.
to make the double end roll. Looks like they're throwing about a 10-5.
It seems to me that Brown likes to complicate the ends a bit. Lots of rocks in play. Nakamura the opposite. So
Yep.
at this point, if she makes a double and rolls behind,
Well, it's still got to
then
go. Gotta go.
it simplifies the end.
Whoa. Whoa.
So definitely what I've noticed on this ice,
whoa, roll the other way.
that over curled on them. They wanted
Okay.
to get a little bit of that
10-6.
flop over, either the flop or the double or both. I don't know if that was
that.
enough weight to make them both perfectly, but the closer to center line you are with those hits, the more it's going to curl. And as you saw last end, Brown flared it or maybe took too much ice on one of her hits and rolled out, giving Nakamura the chance to sneak behind a guard there. And I think on those outside wings, it just curls a little bit less. It's more likely to fall. Something to be aware of, and I'm sure the teams are already onto that. Oh, nice hit and roll here.
Good shot. Brown looking at the double.
Do you like a 10 for that one? 5.
Little discussion about the weight. You don't want to up the weight too much on these because then it becomes a little bit less predictable.
Yeah, you see how much less ice they're taking out there compared to their last shot.
Close. Whoa. Whoa. Close. No.
It looks like we lost a sweeper here, maybe to the bathroom.
Yes.
Oh, very nice.
Good.
Makes a double.
Nice. You could go
Puts the
from
rock out to the
You could
ring,
probably just go
or
around.
to the wings.
Yeah, and when you see rocks falling
I was just
on the
curious what your
wings
face was
there,
gonna look like when
sometimes
you
it's
came
nice to throw the inside out
Just gonna be a
turn.
nice double.
Usually the inside out turn curls quite a bit more, so you just kind of have to, give that extra bit of ice in order to compensate for that. That's exactly what Nakamura's doing here.
And Nakamura throwing thirds rocks.
Yeah.
Nice little hit, tiny roll. She doesn't mind keeping it out there. Okay, well here
Interesting.
Brown is going behind that corner. There's reason she put it up there, so she may as well use it. What do
Yeah.
you think of that, Lisa?
I'm a fan of this call. I mean, you tuck one in behind there, you got a good chance of getting two.
Agreed.
I think that was a smart call.
Agreed. Early on in the game too,
Line's
if she
good.
has to bail out and take her one,
Real.
that's not going to hurt
Line's
her.
good. Line's great. Line's really good.
And really, if they miss this
Real.
shot light and it ends up
Line's
being
good.
a guard, which I don't think it will be, but it's a
Whoa,
good
you're
plan
fine,
B
you're fine.
because
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
what does Nakamura do?
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Nicely by the guard.
Beautiful
It's
shot.
fine.
Tucked in. Hard to see how much might be
15-1.
exposed.
Good shot there with our
Yeah.
cameras, actually. That's probably a good idea of what the thrower can see from the hack.
Like
Mm.
I thought it'd be buried. Yeah.
Looks like she can see about half of it.
Yeah, I know. But I thought it'd be like lost. Yeah.
So it's important here for her
Yeah.
to stay
Yeah, I kicked
in the
pretty slow.
rings. The problem for Nakamura is that if she gets any roll off of there, she's behind the tee line, which is an advantage to Brown. If she can stay right there, then that would complicate things for Brown a bit. She'd have to play a bump and leave herself in the open. So at this point in the spiel, this gets to be a bit grueling for the players. They've been hard at it, thinking about it when they're not playing. And good shot. It's going to hang on.
Barely. Barely hung on there.
So do you think that
Yeah.
fitness will be a factor with either of these teams, Lisa?
Hit and roll.
Oh, big time. I think this is why you
Just go
train.
again.
And playing one game of curling, I'll be honest, you don't need to be the strongest person in the world to get through that game and play your best. But really what fitness comes down to is ensuring that
Hit and roll.
your legs, your arms, your core is strong by the end of the weekend. And you need to be not only playing consistently from when you started the tournament, but playing better. And being able to just be in good shape is essential to that. You know, every bonspiel is a marathon, especially 4-day bonspiels like this. We started on
10-5.
Friday,
Let's
we're
go.
here on
10-5.
Monday. Some of these teams may have had Thanksgiving dinner and definitely need to be in good shape for it.
And you might have an early start and a late finish in the evening, or a late finish one night and an early start the next morning. So sleep is a factor.
Whoa,
New city
whoa,
for these
off,
teams.
off.
Different beds, different hotels. So what kind of
Hard to nose.
things did you do when you played, Lisa, to prepare yourself for these long seasons? So I know that you trained off season.
Strength training was a big one for me because I have a lot of knee issues. Getting a lot of different camera views here. A lot of curlers have knee issues, and just that squat and that lunge is just such a weird position to be in. So for me, a really big thing was making sure that my legs were strong, especially because I'm a very small person. And you'll see that with a lot of these ladies out here. It's hard when you're a woman, and if you're short, having that leg strength is essential to throwing that big weight. So definitely one thing for me was that leg strength. And what did you do, Jack, during the summers to train for your coaching job, sitting on the bench there?
Well, about mid-August, the week before our first Bondsby one, start having one fewer beer.
You're just 15, yeah.
No, there's a lot of preparation that goes in for the coaching as well. And it really is a full-time job because part of it is knowing what the other teams are trying to know what the other teams might be like and learning the ice. And you find that a lot of these coaches, when they come to these events, are going at it really hard from start to finish. And their job doesn't start with the game time. Their job starts before they even arrive in the new city. So it's a bit grueling for the coach and their away, and mental fatigue is a factor not only for the players but for the coaches as well. The good thing about it is that you get to see these world-class athletes performing at such a high level.
Always Sam. Always Sam. It's close for line. No. Sam.
Good communication amongst the front end here on the Brown team.
Just lose it behind the guard, I think. Hard.
They're really going hard for their two, but again, if this doesn't work out, they've got lots of room to bail out in this end and take a single point.
Good sweep. It's lost.
Yeah, it just doesn't like snap there at all.
No. Would that time out?
So a little deeper than she wanted to be. So we're calling for Tanaka to come down to that rock. It's another way of forcing
Should I just drop
Brown to take a point.
At least I have to do that last. I don't think I'm worried about it today.
Such beautiful technique, both teams. But you notice it particularly with Nakamura's team. You can see that they've all been trained to have the same release, the same
Hard on
slide,
for the-
so that each player will throw the rock pretty much identically, and it makes it much easier for the sweepers to read the rock and for the line caller to read the path. So a little miscue there.
You guys like this?
Advantage Brown.
All right, Jack, I was just
think an inch
off
more.
fixing some technical issues we've been having, but update me on what's happening here.
Yeah, just
Okay,
gotta be-
Brown is sitting one behind their corner guard. Tanaka's rock just a little bit heavy and maybe just touch that rock. And Brown calling to put this one just in front of the tee line buried. Good chance for a deuce here, at least. And it'll really put the pressure on Nakamura for the next call. It's got some room by that guard.
Yeah, it's
Sweepers
got
have
some
left
heat
it at the
too.
hog line.
Yeah, it got a little bit of heat, I'm thinking, but we might tick off this back one here.
Well, leaves a little pocket. Oh, there you go. Can't count.
That was the last rock,
That
eh?
was the last
That was the last rock. They're keeping us on our toes. All right, so that was Brown picking.
And we're back.
Welcome back. We just got caught off at the end there, but Brown did pick up their deuce, which is what they wanted, and it was also in an even end. Nakamura now has the hammer, down 2 points going into the third.
And Brown choosing to throw her first rock into the rings. Over on sheet 6, Gim is now sitting 3. They're up 2, so they don't have last rock. And Peterson with her last rock, playing an open hit. If she sticks for 1, but there's some risk there.
Always.
So Lisa, what are you up to
Always
these days? You're not curling competitively this year.
Can you go at all?
No curling. Unfortunately, a lot of people, once they age out of juniors, you know, they have jobs and full-time jobs that they pick up, and curling becomes the second option. And I am living down in Medicine Hat, and Medicine Hat doesn't have their curling club running anymore, so it's been really difficult. I haven't been on the ice yet this year, whereas most of these teams out here have either been on potentially throughout the summer or just the end of summer, August, September. So
Yeah, most have had at least 3 spiels already. So just to be clear, it wasn't my coaching that drove you out of the game.
it wasn't. It was just life getting in the way, as it does for a lot of curlers.
A lot of technique these days in sweeping. We hear a lot of reference to knifing, which is a fairly new development. The last couple of years, people started knifing. I think people are still trying to figure out exactly how it works
Yeah.
and what works best. You hear a couple of different theories, but it seems now that the tendency is that the knifing should be more or less directly in front of the rock rather than across the face
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, a lot of teams would sweep just the inside corner of the rock. And now I've seen more teams covering the entire face of it, which it makes more sense in my mind. Curling is very mysterious, and you know what? They haven't even completely figured out why the rocks curl yet. There's a couple different theories. Can look them up on YouTube. Some people have their different opinions on that. Curling is quite the mysterious sport when it comes to how the rock curls, how it interacts with sweeping.
There was a fellow who had a channel on the physics of curling 7 years back. So he went into that in great detail. Suffice it to say that when you're out there playing, none of that really matters. It's a feel game. It's not a mathematical game, although there is some of that involved as well.
I'm also not totally convinced on the fact that directional sweeping still works with these new broom heads, because, you know, obviously directional sweeping a couple years ago with the hair brooms, with the synthetic brushes, I
This one's just below.
definitely believe that you could move a rock 3-4 feet with those
Sure.
hair
If you-
heads.
if you just, just
But
tip that one
with
and
these
that's
new
good too.
broom heads, these regulated heads, I'm not entirely convinced
Yeah.
that directional
How does that
sweeping
look,
still
Bryce?
works. I haven't done enough testing myself to really get to the bottom of that. But considering that the top teams are still doing it, I think it must be doing something.
Yeah, even if it only makes a very, very small difference, that's often the difference between a win and a loss in a game.
It absolutely is, yep. Some big weight here for Team Brown. Just a little hit and flop over on top of that red rock, sitting behind the tee line. So it looks like Nakamura is sitting one right now.
That's what I'm seeing too.
What's your call on this one, Jack?
I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I think they want to play some tight weight, flop over, and put the pressure on Brown. Maybe try a run back. So I think this shot, my impression is that they'll play a very quiet weight, try to get as far across or just across the center of that rock so that they don't disturb their own that's just behind the tee line. What do you think?
Yeah, I like even just backline weight here. It looks like you can see all of that rock. So if you throw backline, could maybe get away with hack and get that rock completely out. But I think what's more important here is where your rock ends up. With hammer, Nakamura having the hammer, I don't think you're super worried about those biters, those yellows biting in the back. But this is looking a little bit on the wide side right now.
Just took a lot of ice into the 12-foot, a very neutral release.
Okay, so they're actually trying to sweep this by. Ooh. I wouldn't say that's ideal.
I know, I wouldn't say so. Brown definitely shot now.
Do you hate that?
What was the miss there? Because obviously that wasn't the miss. It's not what you want to be leaving for Team Brown. Racking on that guard, playing it tight.
This is really
Yeah, that would have been a lot better for them. But it was the sort of shot I think where they needed to be pretty precise. They need to be very precise at all because any miss would really put them behind the 8-ball.
like it's there.
Having said that, though, last rock is a big advantage in any end.
If he knows it, I guess.
Brown trying to predict the future here
might
and
leave like a double
look
back.
4 rocks
I
ahead.
think you'll roll under though. Like you'll roll lower. Yeah. Should. Yeah. I like this.
Yeah, we're up 2.
Board.
Looks like they're playing the hit and flop. They were just affirming amongst themselves. They're up 2.
Take a look.
They don't have to play this cute. They can get rid of that red rock.
It looked to me like they were considering leaving the rock, the shooter, just in front of the Nakamura stone in the back 8-foot. Their other option, of course, would have been to throw a guard and say do your best, but they don't like to have that much ammunition in the rings on the Nakamura side.
Yeah, teams become a lot more conservative. I've noticed the deeper into an event they get. So this being the semifinal, sure, they could throw up a guard and get that potential steal, but at the same time, they're up 2.
Okay, and that rock was moving. Bent a little bit too far.
Yeah, I don't love how that shot ended up either.
The best laid schemes, some ice and men, eh?
I don't mind that because, yeah, you make that hit and roll, take away that double, that red double. Force Brown to either hit or play a draw, which I doubt they would ever do.
Another option here would be to hit and try to roll at least partially behind the center guard. After the last 2 rocks, though, both reacting differently than the teams thought they would, they might be a little bit tentative to throw anything that precise.
Interesting release from the third on Nakamura. Kind of swinging it back like Shannon Burchard does and launching it forward. It's interesting. Oh, there you go,
Okay.
Jack. You
Yeah.
called it.
That's, I think that's probably the best shot that they could make, but I'm not sure that's what they called.
Yeah, the only thing is now Brown is, you know, they have that hit and roll over top of that red, and there's a chance. There's a chance they set up a difficult situation for Nakamura to get that red stone out there without jamming, or that yellow stone out without jamming.
Yep, yes. Whoa. Close. Yep.
Not throwing a lot of weight here. Maybe board.
Whoa. Close. Help.
Okay, there we go with some knifing.
Interesting. They might get lucky here. Oh. I
No.
think Brown was calling last minute to see if they could maybe just skinny that top red one and rack on that back red one, back 8. Plan B didn't quite work out though.
Yeah, a little thin for that. So where do we put our next shot then if we're Nakamura?
Well, it's interesting because now they're tapping behind this guard here. But that hit and roll, they wanted to roll away. So it's interesting they're not calling to go behind that red corner guard. They might not be shot if they do that. But yes, they are calling to go behind that yellow center guard.
And taking ice at the edge of the 8-foot. So they're looking for 4.5 feet of curl.
Yeah, that's probably the place to put it though. Hey, Jack, put it top 4, force Round to play that run back.
Yeah, oh, it took a little bit more ice there. Yeah, Nakamura is throwing. Just want to be careful not to put it in a position where there's any possibility of a double. Keep your 2 alive. Again, a little bit of flare on that release.
Yeah, probably just the way they have agreed to throw it across the board. This is looking pretty good though.
It's the weight.
This looks really good.
Well judged, well swept.
No kidding.
Pretty close to perfect rock.
Pretty darn close.
So Brown on her first, trying to freeze, corner freeze. Maybe get a chance to leave her rock in the ring somewhere and
That was a 14-6 hers.
clear out both reds on her last shot.
You got to touch the 4.
Little instruction from the front end. You got to touch the 4.
Calling about back 12 right now.
Really curling.
Definitely deeper than what she wanted.
A little
Looks-
deeper. I mean, you're still forcing Nakamura to do something with it because it looks to be second shot.
Yeah, I think it's second. So good shot here from Tanaka would really put the pressure on Brown.
So we've got 322 viewers watching this game right now. It'd be great if everyone could just drop a comment on where they're watching from, who they're cheering for. See some Go Team Browns and Go Nakamuras. So So what's the call here? Because originally I did see that Nakamura was calling to tap to roll inwards, but from this view, it doesn't look like there's much of a roll inwards there.
No, she could be trying to roll out to put it right in front of her other.
I'd like that.
Block.
I think that's a good shot.
Goody, goody. Yes, yes, yes. Whoa, whoa.
Yep, just flopping outwards here.
Get it.
Well, leaves an opportunity, I think, for Brown to make a double and get a bit of a roll. Tough shot. But that's why they get the big bucks. That's why you got the big bucks, Lisa.
I don't know if I ever made that much money.
Just a hair low.
She must be planning on throwing some weight at this.
I think so. Giving negative ice here. Actually, probably not negative because I think Corinne wants to hit it just a hair low. So holding the broom right about where she wants to hit it. And we talked about this earlier in the game that might be falling a little bit on these wings.
Whoa,
Away nicely, not touching it.
roll it.
Watch the shooter.
Nice shot.
Yeah, pretty decent
shot?
weight. I got 7.5 seconds on that one. So that's a good firm hit. And
I'm just not sure who's shot there, Jack.
I think that's the best that she could have done on that. A very good shot.
I think if she rolled about an inch less, if they had swept it just a little bit more, she would have definitely been shot. I'm not sure that she is right now. I'm thinking red shot. Still good though.
Very good.
I'd give her a solid 4.9 out of 5.
Tough shot for Deuce. Here for Tanaka. Narrow scoring area. Front end keeping it clean. I think they're pretty happy with it so far.
Yep, very nice T-line weight
Yep.
to pick up, I guess, what
Two.
looks like a 2.
Yeah. Yep, good end.
All right, we're going to take another quick break here. We'll be back in the third end, and when we get back, we'll make sure to update everyone on the Gim and Beth Peterson game. We'll be right back. Okay, Jack, update us on this Sheet 6 game.
Sheet 6, Gim is up 4-0, playing the third end, and sitting 2. Beth Peterson choosing to draw, hoping to get her one and hang in this game.
Yeah, Gim pulling away with that early lead, and they're coming off a pretty strong game against Hunkin. a very close game. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Looks like Beth is throwing her draw right now, so we'll just hang on to this sheet for another minute and see what happens here.
And I've been really impressed with the Peterson team as well this weekend. They have played really well. This rock moving a bit. Rolls off it, and they're having a close look at that one.
That was a big shot right there.
One yellow.
Looks like yellow,
So
yeah.
5-0. Yeah, that rock moved more than they thought it would.
So 5-0 for Gim going into the fourth end, and now we're gonna head over to our fourth end on our feature sheet at the Curler's Corner Autumn Gold Curling Classic. Quite the long name, but very important that we mention Bernice out of Curler's Corner. Jack, you have a little bit of the information on Bernice and how long she's been running that little shop down here at the Calgary Curling Club.
This Curler's Corner, if I recall correctly, was originally started in Calgary by Fred Story, who was a three-time world champion lead with Ron Northcott's team. And I believe that Bernice bought the business from him probably 41 years ago. I think that's the number I heard, was 41 years ago. And the Curler's Corner has been a sponsor of this Bonspiel, I think, since its inception. And Bernice, ever since she took over the business, has been a big supporter not only of this Bonspiel, but of curling and curlers everywhere. All of these teams come in, they make sure to stop and say hello to her dog Briar, and Bernice knows, it seems, everyone in the curling world.
Yeah, and tell them that Lisa and Jack sent you.
That's going to be good.
You gotta
for
get
a
credit.
discount.
Yeah, we gotta get some credit here. No, Bernice deserves all the love because she gives it back to the curling community, and anyone from Alberta knows that. So
Whatever you need curling-wise, Curler's Corner will help you to find it.
And if you're new to curling, she'll explain everything to you, what equipment you need, what's good for beginners. She's just awesome that way. Anyways, let's talk about this game here. It's looking a little bit more junky than some of these other ends have been.
Yeah, they started out a little bit tentative, and now they're pulling out all the stops. So we get some rocks in the rings. Center guard goes up. Try to go behind, and the game on. Maybe we can get some of those phenomenal doubles and triples going on later in this end.
Oh, look at how awesome this is. So I've been wondering why some of the chat has been sending apples. I wasn't understanding why, but it looks like apples are a specialty of Team Nakamura's hometown. So that's awesome, and I'm sure they'll love seeing that you guys are supporting them from so far away. So that's awesome.
When the Korean team had the garlic girls, so now we have this apple team.
There's nothing more amazing that I've seen doing these live streams than the support that actually both the Korean and Japanese teams get all the way here in Canada. I'm so impressed with the curling fans there, and you guys are just amazing for supporting your teams so proudly. And as I'm talking about that, an unfortunate miss there from Team Nakamura.
And I think Brown would like some separation on these rocks. She doesn't like them bunched together like that.
Yeah, sorry, I had the curlers muted there. I was
Oh.
too wrapped up in my own voice, I forgot to turn them on.
To get both of them?
But there she is. There's Corinne Brown.
It, like, this...
This is
well,
an
you have to hit
interesting
thin
setup.
to not clip it. If you're nosing, you're clipping this. Do you like hack? Yeah. Do you see something else?
So line is important, depth is
Just
important as well. So with respect to depth, we're talking about the amount of weight that would be thrown. If you can have this rock coming in making contact after it's curling, then you have a lot better chance of leaving 3 of your rocks in the rings. If you threw some heat at it and hit it head on, you're likely to lose your own back one.
Whoa. Yep, yes! Hard! Oh, it's like really down. Hard, 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 hard. Hard, 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 hard. Hard, 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 hard.
Okay, so the weight, the sweepers felt the weight was down on that one.
Ooh.
13.
Is it just me, or is there a triple there, Jack?
Yeah.
Well, with you, there would definitely be a triple.
Because I can throw it so hard.
Yes. I think we got a, when you threw a quad last year, I think we got that one on video.
That's true. That doesn't happen very often, so we were pretty lucky we got that on video.
Well, to get a chance to throw a quadruple takeout, you need some cooperation from the other team, too.
That's very true.
You got to put the rocks in there.
This seems like a pretty natural triple. If I were practicing triples in practice, this is probably how I would set one up. Just a little bit unfortunate how those rocks ended up, but anytime you're grouping your rocks together like that, there's a chance that you can set something up.
She could get a good roll off of this as well.
Not throwing it super hard, but
No, not a ton of weight.
oh, I think that sticks around.
Yeah, hang on.
It's still in.
I'm surprised. I think with a little bit more weight, that would have been an easy triple to throw, but they opted to throw a little bit less. Still a great shot though.
Mm-hmm. Gives
wanna roll
Brown
big?
an opportunity to
10,
get
5.
after this rock and stick one behind. Maybe get a chance later on for her too.
Yeah, what does worry me about
Yep.
leaving biters in when you don't have the hammer? They can come back and bite you in the butt.
Ah,
Curl.
that's what they call them biters.
Yeah, exactly.
Go, 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 go.
Oh, beautiful hit and roll.
Very nice shot.
Wasn't lively off the top there. Sorry, Jen.
Like,
Okay, they're looking to see if there's room to run the top red in the 8-foot back.
結構回り込んでのフリーズもおもろいかも。
didn't? No, like, this way was good too, right?
Opting for the draw.
ここに丸々かかってる。
Now I'm curious, how big is Korea, or how big is Korea? How big is curling in South Korea? I have no gauge as to whether it's a popular sport there. I wouldn't imagine they have a ton of curling clubs there. Obviously, why they come down to Canada to practice and to play games and to play in tournaments. But is there a big curling fan base in Korea?
If you're in Korea, please let us know. I know that they've really gone at the sport in a big way, hard, got very good at it very quickly. And we have 5 Korean teams here in this Bonspiel, so getting some international exposure, some young teams, and going up against some of the best curlers in the world and honing their skills. So clearly they're doing a lot of things right.
This is third, or I guess, what would you call the person throwing the third rock?
I call them the
Skip
third.
the third. Everyone says something different. The broom holder. Miori Nakamura here throwing the third stones, holding the broom.
Sorry?
And choosing to play up to the face of Unicorn Brown's rock in the 4-foot.
Beautiful shot.
Mhm.
Beautifully managed as well.
Little less.
Like there is space here, but do you want to come look at it?
Oh, we'll see if that little biter comes into play. Because it very well could.
You have to hit it pretty thin for it to come back. So, like, take it out, right?
Yeah. I mean, to plant.
I think Brown would love to throw that double, but she's not sure that it's there. It'd be very tight to that guard.
Still my first.
ちょいでもちょい強いけどでもそれハックだったらちょっと外側当たってでもおかしくないかな。
Okay, I was wondering if
Yeah,
they'd
that's not
look
bad,
at
actually.
Fisher pointing
Like
out
this?
that they might want to rip the guard
This angle's
into
not bad. Like it.
into the pile.
I like that. Just 3/4 high. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hitting it like thin at the top one.
Well, it might clip it, but it never takes it out.
Lots of things could happen on this one.
Like 3/4 or 2. Yeah, somewhere between there.
3/4.
I like this call.
Yeah.
Whoa. Close.
It's like pretty good weight.
Close. Yep. Hard.
Oh,
Girl.
perfect.
Wow.
You could not throw that any
That's great.
better.
Yeah, that was very nice. Well called, well swept, well thrown.
Thicker. Yeah.
One of the things I liked about it was that you had that sweeper's broom down on that rock the whole way. When it's close, you want to take out the variables. So you don't want to have a fudgy spot in the ice or have it pick up anything. So perfect rock needs to have a broom on it all the way down the ice, I think.
Yeah, from a young age, I had a session with many Albertans would know Paul Webster. Many Canadians would know Paul Webster, quite the amazing curling coach out of the Glencoe there, and had taught team boccer for a while here and there. And Paul Webster said, "You better have your broom down every single rock, unless that rock is flying through the house with like hack weight." So I've held on to that for quite a while. Because if a rock picks and you're sweeping it and your broom isn't on the ice, then you're going to be in some trouble from your thrower.
And Nakamura comes back with a good shot.
Yeah.
And Brown still with the opportunity for her deuce. She makes a good freeze.
Can you try to
Yeah,
carve
this
it
may be
down?
one of those situations where the sweepers cannot touch the rock because it is quite
Trying
heavy.
to knife it over.
Okay.
Little hot. We've seen a few in that spot that have sailed a bit.
Miori opting to
She throws up there.
call a top 12
I think I like that on your
rock on their first. Skips first.
Exactly.
I noticed that Tanaka is very deliberate. She goes through her routine every time, pretty much the same way.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
It's further, like it's closer to center though.
Yeah, but like you can hold it there.
So I wonder if we'll see this one become a little deep as well. This path seems a bit slick, and Team Brown got caught up on that. They haven't touched it much this whole time. A little sweep now.
Yeah, they might be running just a little bit better in that spot, a little bit faster than in the other spots.
Yeah, that tends to happen.
So after each end, each team gets together and has a little discussion. What do you suppose they'll be saying after this end?
Well, depends on what happens here.
So if you're
If-
Brown's team,
Yeah,
Is that not the call?
if you're Brown's team, if you give up a couple points here,
How much do you have of this?
steal, which, I mean, they have the hammers, so they probably won't. They'll probably take their one. But I think both teams are going to want to crank up the intensity a little bit, maybe play with a few more rocks in play. If Brown scores, they're going to want to force Nakamura in the next end, and then they're going to want to take two coming back home in the even end.
I don't mind this.
9-5.
I know I always like
I'm
to
trying
have
for
the
the
team
rule.
talk
Do
about
you wanna
the
put that
ice
there?
and the rocks
No, I think 9.5 is
and
so thick. We should
the opposition,
head on to
and to note what the score is and the end that they're in, even to say it out loud. I know you like to tell jokes.
Are we playing it? Like, what are we playing?
No.
Half for what?
If you hit half, you're gonna.
No,
catch
it's
into
important
here.
to, I think, to refresh your mind, but we might be talking about some of these spots on the ice now, because those are makeable
I like a
shots,
good ice for 9-5.
and communication, as we said earlier, is so important.
So it looks like Corinne here is, she's only throwing a 9-5. So one of the comments was about a potential triple here, which it's really tough to tell from the angle that we had on the camera, but judging from our angle, I don't believe there's a triple there. I think it's just not quite set up to make, so this could be a double that she's throwing.
No, and she
Soft
still
Aaron.
has an opportunity for a 2 if things shake out.
Hard to roll. Hard roll.
Hard to
Yep,
keep
yep,
it
yep.
straight. Okay, well, that's not
10-3.
bad.
Yeah, and I don't think that was triple weight either, so I think Corinne was just going for a double there and a flop over, maybe flop over in front of that red there that's just behind the tee line. Nakamura just going to nose this one.
She is.
You're feeling pretty comfortable if you're Nakamura. This is your last shot to be sitting 3 without the hammer.
If she hits and stays there, then that makes a draw a little bit more difficult for Corin.
Probably have to draw.
Yeah, just a little bit wide.
They did their best to get that rock to move over,
15
but
here.
draw, it looks like full 8 foot gets them their point, and they can bail out at this end.
Like a 15 here, guys.
Corinne just threw a 9-5 takeout, so we'll see how she's able to adjust to some draw
Has
weight.
the whole thing just been big on my hit things or just bad?
So you think they're worried about the position, about the ice when they move the broom like this, that the ice is going to be the same as the last one?
I don't know. I think you kind of gotta just
Mine's
rely
good.
on your sweepers to. That if it's a little slower in that spot, hopefully they'll just sweep a little harder. You definitely don't want to adjust too much as a thrower.
They're definitely sweeping a little
They
harder on this
really
one.
are.
Keep going.
We'll see how far this slides. Oh. Gotta get the beep, the swear jar out. All right, well that was a steal of 3 for Nakamura. Going into the fifth end, we'll have a little bit of a short fourth end break here as the teams talk to each other and have their meetings, and we'll be right back with an update from Team Gim and Team Beth Peterson when we're back. Welcome back. So, Jack, what just happened on sheet 6?
Well, Gim was sitting two
girl.
in the biting the 8-foot, and Peterson drew for her single point. Still in it, 5-1, but tough road ahead for her.
Absolutely. Definitely going to have to kick things into high gear here if Beth Peterson wants to see the final later on today at, I believe it's at 3:30 p.m. So make sure you do stay tuned with us for that game. A little bit later on, we'll have that featured on live stream as well, and we'll see right now who's going to make that final. Let's get back to our feature sheet.
And Team Nakamura now with a 3-point lead. That's a huge, huge turnaround. If Brown had made that draw, then she's still got control of the game. But now she's got to scramble.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate miss for Brown here, and it's tough to rally after that. It's tough to gain that confidence back to keep going. You're only down 3. The game hasn't been lost yet. So what do you say to your teammates after a miss like that to get things going again?
Well, you can't really make technical adjustments at this point. It's all the emotional thing. So you want to make sure that your team is hanging in there. You make sure that they understand that they still got to play well, that they're still in the game, make shot after shot, take advantage when you get the opportunity, but just do the things that you've been doing the way you've been doing them, but make sure that you do them well. Get your chance for a 2, and it changes things back around, gives you a good opportunity. One of the things that they have to be considering, though, is looking at the scoreboard. 4 ends left. If they trade hammers, they only have last rock twice. So they've got to make a move now, because they either need to get 2 2s and a blank, or steal. There haven't been a lot of steals. So what would you tell your team?
I would probably say what I like to do when I give up a steal is pretend that it wasn't a steal and pretend that they really did have the hammer, because giving up a steal is one of the worst feelings in the world, especially as a skip, knowing that you didn't make your last shot. You can really feel like you're letting your team down. The best thing to do is just try not to think about it, try not to ruminate on it, and focus on what's in front of you, and that's a lot easier said than done. But as a skip, one of the best qualities you can have is not having a short memory.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Goldfish.
That's exactly right. If you can put those bad shots behind you,
Just throw T.
try to make sure that every shot is independent. You throw a million rocks in practice, and that's the way you want to throw them in the game. And you have one that's a stinker, you just want to put that behind you, forget about it, and go on to the next one.
Yeah, and to me it seems like Corinne is doing a good job of that. She seems focused on this end, and that's all you can do.
When she doesn't mind having the rocks in play, even though they're Nakamura rocks, more rocks that are in play in this end, the better chance that she will have at the finish of the end to score a deuce or more.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be an end of tapping red rocks behind the tee line, just like that, and leaving them back there as a reverse guard, as I like to call them. Actually, just made that up. I have never said that in my life.
Yeah, Yogi Berra once said, half the things that I've said I never said. He was also famous for having two suits, a navy blue and a navy brown.
I'd love to know what navy brown looks like. This is Nakamura's second, Haruka. Playing that simple peel. Now, what's the strategy if you're Team Nakamura? You're up 3. We talked about what Brown and her team were talking about during that fourth end break. But what does Nakamura talk about?
Well, part of this now becomes a matter of math. You want to count rocks and you want to count hands. You want to make sure you can afford to, you don't want to, but you can afford to give up a 2. As long as you make sure that you use your hammers wisely. So a big advantage for Nakamura. So it's a matter of trying to eliminate a big end on Brown's part. And so we should be seeing a lot of takeouts, I think, from this point on. Of course, the way that the rules are now, you're going to have rocks in play. So she'll be trying to set up shots so that she can use her own rocks later.
10-5.
Here she's chosen to go into the rings, which is an advantage for her as long as they're in front of the tee line.
Now, you know what, Jack? At the start of this game, you mentioned that Team Nakamura, they're pretty defensive in their play until the opportunity comes where they can afford to be aggressive, and there's an opportunity for them to be aggressive without taking too many risks. And I've definitely noticed that with Nakamura getting that 3-pointer. They were never so aggressive to the point where they were at risk, but when Brown was missing, they took that opportunity to start piling rocks in the house, and now as we see, they're playing very defensive, peeling, trying to figure out how they can get as many yellow rocks out as they possibly can. So I would say that your analysis on this team was correct.
Okay, a lucky guess. And even in the end where they got the 3, they did not get that 3 by playing aggressively.
Nope.
That would not have been a tough shot normally for Brown, but she did seem to be fighting the ice a bit, fighting the weight. They have fought the line a little bit too, so that must have played into it. But the big shocker that she would come up short on that one.
Yeah, I might try and get a few times on some of these rocks. See, when Corinne came down to throw that draw to the button, she mentioned to her team about a 15-second rock would be T-line. So maybe we can see if that's still true or if the ice has changed at all.
15 seconds would be a little bit faster than it has
Pretty
been throughout
fast.
the week.
Yeah, pretty fast.
Earlier on, I was getting times just over 14 for the draws to the button. So 15 seconds would be another almost 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet of weight.
So, Corinne,
For that one?
her first instinct was just to freeze on that back red there, on that reverse guard.
That's twice I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm going to start using that. No, it seems like they are not playing that shot anymore.
Whoa! Yep! Yes! Hard! Hard! Any roll! Any roll! Any roll! Any roll!
Any roll, but she didn't get it.
10-8.
What do you think of that yellow double on the left side there? Is that
Looking-
too risky?
I think at this point, maybe.
It's like-
Get rid of the rock that was just thrown and sit two. Force Brown to try and make something, and she doesn't have much in the event that take that rock out and get a roll over to the side like Tanaka was showing.
Yeah, it's a great way to force Brown to group rocks by rolling that red over as far as he can. If he knows it, that's completely fine as well. But trying to group those rocks to get an easy double or a potential triple, which we've seen a couple kind of pop up throughout this game. Pretty nice.
Pretty much right where she called it. Looks from, it's hard to see from our angle, but it looks like there would be a possibility of making a double and getting a roll, spreading the yellow rocks out in the rings. Brown would still be looking at
That's good.
hopeful to get a 2. A possibility for 3 if she's got 3 rocks in the rings. I really like the way that the Brown team has played in this Bonspiel. They've been very strong. Whenever I've been watching them, they've played very, very well.
Aaron Pincott just unfortunately jamming that red. Believe they were trying the double. But still an interesting situation for Nakamura here. Looking at maybe that potential double. That's probably what I would play. What about you, Jack?
Yep, for sure. The double's the shot. She get a double and roll, sit 3, it looks like. The risk would be, of course, leaving the Brown shot rock.
And the broom goes down.
They've been precise on their hits and rolls, and they haven't chosen to throw very much weight to this particular. They haven't thrown a lot of weight on the hits at this point, so I don't expect them to be throwing a heater.
And cleaning her rock a second time. Not liking how it feels. Misaki Tanaka. Trying to make this double.
On and off with the sweeping.
Very nice shot.
Yep.
Just clipped that red rock at the back. Not enough to shoot it out. What I don't know if I were Brown, I may have played this end a little bit more aggressively. You saw about halfway through this end, she tapped to make a freeze, and I think her team opted to hit instead. And now you're seeing a very, very potential force on Brown, which is less than ideal.
She's having a very close look to see, is there any way we can get a deuce out of this? And I'm not really seeing that the odds are very good. They can't expect a miss from Tanaka on her last rock. And I'm hoping I have counted them properly this time.
Well, that was Misaki's first rock, so yes, I do believe that's correct. And it looks like she's opting to play the draw. Maybe a draw around that 8-foot rock there.
14 and a half.
Yeah, difficult to get a rock in behind a guard that's in the top 8 foot. If she does get it, there's not a lot of distance on a run back, but it does increase the difficulty for Tanaka.
Love the pre-game routine for her and Brown, blowing into her hand, right into the mic.
Go for line. Rim. No line. Okay. Always have. You need the right.
Again, they seem a little bit uncertain online on those. They're having the inside sweeper sweep, which normally is to keep it straight, and then
Good judge.
at the front of the rings try to get it to bend, and instead it's left exposed.
I think the goal with the tight sweeper there was to get it to rub off that red. I think right from the get-go, Pincott knew that it was wide and it was never going to finish, especially just with that extra heat on it. Sliding back 4 almost on its own, just a little bit of sweeping at the end there. So I think they were trying to make a plan B work there, and it didn't quite work out.
If she nuts it, they will hit it. But
Tanaka with her last stone in the 5th end.
She's probably okay with this one rolling out. She may as well leave it in the ring somewhere, but if she leaves it right in the same spot, it might just make Brown's last shot easier.
Oh, wrong. Oh no. Sorry guys, just lost the rock there for a little bit, but made that shot perfectly.
Yeah.
I could have flopped over just a slight bit more, maybe, to avoid that easy hit and stick, but still a very nice shot.
And Nakamura had the opportunity there to choose what shot she would have Brown throw, a takeout or a draw. Tough draw, except she's got the whole 4 foot, but tough in the sense that she missed the one before, and if she doesn't have the advantage of a short memory like mine, then that increases the difficulty. Here she's got an open hit. Through a port, mind you.
Yeah, it's not as simple as you'd think. Gotta be watchful for these 2 red rocks.
hard.
So quiet or wait.
Looks good.
And nice.
All right, so Team Brown picked up a single. Current score is 5-3 for Team Nakamura going into the 6th end. And we'll check in with Team Gim and Peterson as they just wrapped up their 5th end when we come back.
And we're back here with an update on the game on sheet 6 between Beth Peterson and the GIM team. It's now 5-2. Peterson stealing in the 5th end.
Yeah, and what's going on this end? It looks like they've only thrown 4 rocks here. GIM's drawing in top 4.
A couple of guards out front, and Peterson choosing to come in on top of it.
Yeah, so it looks like GIM's still dominating this game quite a bit. If we take a look at the scoreboard here, they're, up 5-2. Still a doable game. Both of these games within a few points of each other, so anything's possible. And we'll keep updating you throughout the game on Beth Peterson and Team GIM.
Yep, Peterson and Brown in both games, they need a bit of a break, but still possible. At this point, I think the players are fighting a bit of fatigue, particularly if you're not up on the scoreboard and you start to feel things a little bit more maybe than if you're winning. But in each case, they're still within reach. Brown is only down 2, but she's looking now that she's going to have to steal an end here at least.
It'll move. Hard, Aaron.
All right, well, we can't see it, but
Really good spot, Jen.
top 4, full half button, top 4. And Nakamura's head is right in the way, but just biting the button there for Team Brown on their second shots.
Of course, here in Canada, Fujisawa's team is the more well-known of the Japanese teams, but this Nakamura team is a very, very high-quality team. They just beat Team Fujisawa to go into this game in an extra end, stealing the extra. They've been over here before. Good young team. So the quality of the teams coming from not only from Japan but from Korea as well is phenomenal. And I wonder, like Lisa was asking before, I wonder about the depth of curling there. Is it that they have a few high quality teams, or is it a really popular sport? I suspect in Japan it's become very popular.
All right, so peeling the guards, putting them back. Might have this happening for a while. Brown probably wanting to take a steal this end. You're going to need 3 steals to win this game.
3 ends left.
Yep. And it's definitely not the first time we've gone into an extra end on sheet 5. I think we've had 2 or 3 extra ends since we've been here this weekend on sheet 5. So, it might be a curse on sheet 5. Not necessarily a curse, though. Extra end of curling never hurts to watch.
Yeah, keep going.
There have been a lot of close games. A lot of extra ends, and then even a couple of big ends late in the game to switch the scoreboard around. So you're never out of it. And then momentum plays a big part in it too. When you're out there, it can sometimes feel like you're just down and nothing's going right and just not quite into it. And then look at the scoreboard and you're only down 2. That's not to say that that's what Brown's team is feeling.
Top, like 8. Tolerance is short.
Looks like Brown's trying to Christmas tree this a little bit.
Yeah, I think she's got something going this end.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate miss. It looks like they were trying to run back. Team Nakamura on that shot. The miss definitely would have been to just peel off that top guard again. Unfortunately, they stuck around, dead smack middle of the center line.
Whoa.
So
Which one is it? Right here. Whoa, whoa.
Pincott coming in a little bit wide here. Might have tucked enough of it to avoid a double here.
I did give you less than.
It looks like it'd be a really tough double. She's only got the outside of that rock. Like 9/10 of the rock. And the way that it's frozen, I don't think it goes anywhere. It could even jam on the back red.
So this is exciting. Over in Airdrie, and for anyone not from Alberta, Airdrie is about 30 minutes north of Calgary, where we are. And my brother is playing in a men's event right now, and he's in the semifinal currently against Ryan Jakes from Edmonton, and he's winning 5-3. So wanted to give him a shout out. Hopefully he's able to make the final here, and this is a brand new team that he's got. His name is Ryan Parent, so everyone wish him luck.
And two very good up-and-coming young teams out there.
Absolutely.
But I know who I'm cheering for.
I hope so.
So halfway through this end, it's looking pretty good for Brown. She's got some stuff going here. You'd be
Just guard.
throwing a guard.
Yeah,
Do you want to wrap
that's
here?
it's not a bad outcome because they locked that red one right on top of that yellow, and it's definitely not going anywhere unless that yellow's going
Babe,
somewhere.
just tuck a piece around here. Do you want same ice? Yes.
It looks like Brown's going to guard it, hoping for a steal this end. And I can bet Nakamura is probably going to throw a double peel, or maybe some type of run back to try and get that yellow out of there.
I like the conversation between the skip and the third when Brown asks, do you want the same ice? Because a big part of it is the feel of the person throwing the rock. And you don't ever just throw a guard. The guard has to be in a very precise position if you want to have a good chance of stealing in this end.
Fine. No. Just whoa. Doesn't have to curl. Doesn't have to curl. Does not have to curl. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And just tuck the edge of it around that center line guard.
Good throw.
That's a pretty good spot.
Yeah. Well, like, I could have pounded the crap out of it from here.
Is Tanaka motioning to try and take out the two guards, it looks like.
I did give you
Yeah, if you hit that top red with enough weight, you should be able to get both of those rocks going. You may even touch those back ones at the same
the
time.
first one went a heck of a lot further than I anticipated. They were calling it tight at one point, and it was like T-line. Yeah. Just throw it back.
Oh, she's looking at doubling off those reds there.
Not exactly sure. It looked like she was showing that she wanted to hit the guard a hair high, but then she might have changed.
I'm wondering if she's trying to hit that red into the other red guard and kind of spin that red into the house or something. Oh.
I'd have to say that didn't work.
No, that was an interesting call for sure. I would have thought they'd try and get that yellow out of there.
Oh, just on the red.
Looks like a pretty good opportunity for Brown at this point. It's going to take a big shot for Nakamura to get out at the end.
Throwing up another guard, it looks like, from Corinne Brown of Kamloops, BC.
Go ahead, less. Not that much. Go back a bit.
So what are you thinking, Lisa, if you're Nakamura here? Are you okay with giving up a 1 here?
I wouldn't be. That brings the game into a 1-point game when it was a 3-point game. I don't think giving up a steal is great, especially when it could have been easily avoided.
So what do you do at this point in the end then?
I don't know. Triple peel. Throw a lot of weight. Get that yellow out of there somehow.
She would have an angle, it looks like, off of her long guard. Nakamura would.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever. I don't know can you see enough of that red though? I don't know if that yellow is blocking it.
On the screen it doesn't look like it, but here it looks like it might show a little bit more than it looks like on the screen.
Yeah, it's pretty thin, but
It's pretty good because it'll go into that side one.
yeah, that is a good spot. Just like Corinne said,
I think.
there's a double peel there. There's no triple peel. On the yellows, the 2 yellows, I should say.
I don't think Tanaka likes the options.
I don't love this double peel either. I don't know. I guess the hope is that red touching center line will spin off of that other red guard and maybe spin into the house. That seems to me like what they're looking at. Otherwise, I don't think there'd be any other point in trying to peel these 2 rocks because Corinne's just going to replace it with another one of hers.
Doesn't look like Nakamura could make the situation worse for themselves. Though,
No.
because if a rock spins in, it'll be a red rock.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how this shot turns out, actually.
So clean up some of this clutter and then see what they've got on their last one.
Yeah, why not? It's very quiet in the curling club today. Quite a few fans coming out to watch, but very quiet out on the ice because there's 2 big games being played right now.
She's not holding back on the takeout weight.
Nope, Tanaka throwing quite a bit of weight here. Nope, just misses it.
And just didn't help her much.
No. Yeah, I thought that might skinny that red guard there, and I'm thinking that's what they thought too. Because that didn't help the situation much. Now Corinne's wondering, where else can I possibly guard? Or do I bring one into the house?
Well, she hasn't had a lot of luck with throwing those draws from the wide part of the sheet.
It's not an easy draw. I don't even know if he'd be able to get shot there. It'd be really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, just guarding that yellow guard so that there's no easy run back to sit 1 for Nakamura. Is that what you would throw, Jack?
Yeah, I think that's her best bet here. Look around and see if there's anything that could be accomplished by trying to be greedy, but it doesn't look like there is. Situation stayed the same. Nakamura would probably have the run back.
Wad.
Okay, 1's okay. Has to curl for a 1.
We'll sit back and listen to this commentary from
Line's
the team.
good.
Has to curl. Has to curl for a 1. Okay, well then.
pretty much right where she wanted it.
Yeah, no issue with the line on these guards at all. Very straightforward.
結構見えないわ。隠れてるしっかり。
So they might be looking at some type of run back here
こっちはね見えないわ。
or tap.
Well, Brown does have that kicker at the back of the rings. So they might just play a quiet tap back raise to the button, try to get their one that way. That would reduce any risk.
I don't think there's a lot of risk in this situation. I think that red is basically right locked onto that yellow. I don't know if they're touching, but they're so close. You'd have to throw a lot of weight to get that red to spin off. I don't think there's much risk here, as long as you don't throw a rocket.
バックラインあれば
But that's not to say that the tap wouldn't be an easier shot.
バックハックぐらい。
Oh,
Okay.
Nakamura looks to be throwing a double run back.
And that really takes all the risk out of it.
Raising two opposition stones to hopefully get shot on their own. Oh, I could be wrong. This isn't
A quiet wait.
a ton of weight. Oh, okay. Looks like they were playing the tap actually.
It's not there. So 1 for Brown. 5-4 after 6.
All right, we'll be right back.
Nice rock place.
Okay, and we're back. We are at the start of the 7th end. Brown still needing to make something happen, but feeling a lot better about her chances.
Yep, lead Hiyori throwing up a top 4 draw.
So looking at the scoreboard, Brown is thinking steal, steal.
Mm-hmm.
She gives up 1, then she's hoping for an extra hand. So Nakamura, what's she going to be thinking? If she does give up 1, that's not the end of the world. She'll have hammer in the 8th end.
All right, this rock is
Be Sam.
just a center guard, 2 center guards right on that line, meaning they cannot be removed. They cannot be ticked off the center line.
What do you think of that rule?
It's you could just kind of see it. Yeah.
And here we are. What do you think of that no-tick rule?
I've got 2 different opinions on it. One, I love it, and the other one, I hate it.
Okay, well that settles that.
My only issue with it is I feel like we've had this conversation before, and every commentator has had this conversation before, but in a lot of ways, I think at a certain point, you just need to leave the sport alone. And curling is meant to evolve, and it's not going to stay the same over the years because people always think that there's a better way to do it. And I think sometimes that is part of the issue, is that sometimes it just needs to be left alone. And the reason why I used to love tick shots is because sure, players made it. The high-end players made it 9 out of 10 times. It is such a difficult shot, though. And I think it's not appreciated enough how difficult that shot is to perfect. And once you've perfected it, now it's being ripped away from a lot of players. And I don't know. What's your opinion on it, Jack?
Well, I'm wondering, with the history of the game, when they first started to bring in the free guard zone, that was to get more rocks in play, and then they increased the number of rocks for the free guard zone, and now we've gone to the tick. And I wonder if it's not a reflection of the quality of the ice that's being made in these events these days. The players can be so precise, and maybe that's the reason why they're doing it then, is to bring more rocks into play, get more of the big spectacular shots to make it better for viewers. But certainly the ice is so much better than it was before the free guard zone, and the quality of the players now has increased so much. It certainly has brought a lot more rocks into play. You see now when people are playing these long raised takeouts, they're playing them to make a takeout in a specific spot, to make a raised takeout and flop behind a guard, which is an incredibly difficult shot that seems to be made more and more. I wouldn't say it's routine.
Gotta curl a bit. That's good there.
So it appears to me that Nakamura is sitting shot.
Yeah.
Brown right up to her. She might get that chance, but Nakamura would like to get rid of all of the debris in front of the rings. He gets rid of one of the guards, one of the brown guards.
Tuck a piece round. Put a dead guard the red. Okay.
Yeah, center.
So I'd like to take a moment to thank the volunteers that have come out for this. Incredible number of people that put in a lot of time, and they've done an exceptional job. And particular kudos to my seatmate Lisa, who's not only commentating on this draw, but also producing, being kept busy with her excellent technical crew.
Always curl hard.
Thank you, Lisa.
Hard, Sam. You gotta
Yeah,
go. Hard,
that's
Sam,
a
you
great
gotta
point,
go.
Jack.
Hard, Sam, you gotta go.
There's
Hard,
been a lot of work that's been put into this event, not only by the curling club, but also by the Autumn Gold Curling Committee. Quite a few people on that committee working year-round to make this event happen. I believe we'll be having a meeting here, a post-event meeting probably in the next week, and especially Brittany Tran. She was playing in this event. Also, the head chairperson of the Autumn Gold Committee. She's done an amazing job organizing this event, and there's a lot of stress that gets put on her, not only planning this event but also curling in
Playing
it
in it too.
with her team that actually won the Alberta Scotties last year. So, yeah, props to Brittany Tran. I know she probably doesn't give herself enough credit, along with every other volunteer that's here.
And we've seen a few of the committee members out on the ice, so incredibly difficult to do the volunteer work as well as to play in the event.
Yeah, two-time Canadian champion Chelsea Carey. She was curling in this event, I believe, in the quarterfinals.
Lost a heartbreaker.
Yeah. She's also on the committee, so yes, thank you to everyone. There's a lot of people to thank and probably not enough time to do it.
So Brown's still trying to establish control of the rings. Another guard just off center line. Long guard.
Yeah, leaving a little bit of a hole there. I'm wondering if Nakamura can just bump that red one into that yellow there and kind of nudge it off the button.
So from Brown's perspective, it seems to me that if she was to give up a 1 here, she's still got a good chance of, anytime you've got last rock, you've got a good chance of getting a 2. That means she still would have to steal the extra end. So the way that I look at these things is if you have any opportunity to steal at this point, you should go for it.
Yeah, actually, in the last game, Gim and Hunkin, it was a very, very close game, and Gim ended up getting, I think, 4 in the last end, and they didn't need 4 to win, but they definitely needed multiple, and it's possible. You know what? You could get 3 in the last end. It doesn't even necessarily need to be an extra end situation, but giving up a point here for Brown isn't the end of the world, not even close. So I would imagine that Nakamura would try and keep the next end very clean if they score a point here, try and force them to only 1. But we'll see how it turns out. Now, Jack, I'm curious because we've been talking a lot about how curling has changed in the past few years, but as you said, you've been curling for a very, very long time, and I'd just like to know how has it changed? What are the most prominent changes you've seen as a curler in the past, couple decades?
Well, you would think that the number of years that I've been playing, I would have gotten better, but that seems not to have happened. When I came in, though, when you played in playdowns, you still had 12 end games. And one year we played playdowns, and we had the 3 games in one day. 2 of them went to an extra end, and the other one went to last rock. So that was a ton of curling. In those days, it was corn brooms as well. And so there's a skill and technique, but a lot of strength that's used in corn broom sweeping too. So the biggest changes, I think, in terms of the competitive game, the 2 biggest changes are no corn brooms and the shorter games. A 12-end game, you've got time to be patient. The better team will almost always win, and a break here or a break there doesn't kill you as much. You used to play those 12-end games easily in 2.5, 2 3/4 hours. And now we have 8-end games that sometimes take 2 3/4 hours. So I think that's another part of it that's changed, is the amount of input coming from the rest of the team. It's not all just the skip saying this is what we're going to do and making up their mind. So those are 2 of the biggest things that I think have changed.
So would you say that just with that extra team input, not having a singular leader on the team necessarily, some people may say the skip is the leader, but with that extra team input, are you seeing teams break up more often because there is that extra input and maybe potential disagreements compared to many years ago? Teams may have stuck together for a bit longer because when the skip's voice goes, and that's
Well, at this level, I think at this level, the way that the game is played now, there's more money, more sponsorship in it. In the early days when I was starting curling, everybody had a job besides being a curler. There weren't any real professional curlers. As a matter of fact, when I started curling, the rule book still stated that no true curler would ever accept money for winning a game. It was seen to be an amateur sport. And so you'd have a situation where somebody might be a world champion, and to illustrate that point, I had occasion to talk to Ed Lukowich one time, and he was telling me he was coming back from the World Championships on a plane with somebody that didn't curl. Found out that he was the world champion. The fellow said, "Oh, you must be rich," and Ed told him that in fact he had to take time off work in order to go and play. He didn't get paid for it, and so to win the world championship cost him several $1,000s. So a lot different these days than it was then.
well, even nowadays, curlers don't get paid a lot to curl unless you have a lot of sponsorships. Jennifer Jones teams, Team Gushu. A lot of curlers still have to work and curl at the same time. I can almost guarantee that all the Canadian teams out here, all of these curlers have jobs as well, and it may be a little bit different with the national teams, depending on their country's policies with support and sending their teams over to Canada. But it's not just curling isn't just a full-time job. It's a full-time job on top of a full-time job. So it's really quite incredible what these curlers do with their time. I can guarantee they don't have any time to socialize or be with friends really during the curling season. I know I lose a lot of friends when I'm not curling and all my friends are out on the ice. I'm like, oh, please talk to me.
And you're sure that's the reason why you lost those friends?
I think so. Couldn't be anything else because I'm perfect.
No, you don't also, going back to Ed Lukowich, you don't have to feel sorry for him because he won a number of cars and he won a number of cash steals.
That doesn't hurt, does it?
And he beat me numerous times. So.
There's no better feeling than beating you, Jack Moss.
Well, I do it myself and it doesn't feel that good. Okay, interesting situation that has developed here.
Yeah, both teams taking some time to stop at the far end and check out the situation.
Real opportunity for Brown to consider risk versus reward. Right? Are we okay with giving up one? Still assuming that Nakamura is sitting shot. Are we still okay with giving up one here, or do we really want to go after it?
Like, is it worth?
Yeah, just turned up Corinne's mic here so we can try and get an idea of what thoughts are going through their heads.
If you chip the guard. Okay.
And right now they're actually talking about sneaking by that yellow guard.
Like, you can't leave any double, right?
Back four kind of thing?
I don't know if that's there. That is
Back four gonna move it or not?
Back eight then?
I don't see that being there, Jack.
They go left then.
Doesn't look like it to me either.
I don't think it curls enough. It's just that is a next to impossible shot.
Like back eight, wait.
Maybe if you give it a really good spin, it'll shoot back at the end, but
I'd
I
rather
don't
throw
know.
something
She
then.
could be just considering taking this shot away from Nakamura chance.
It's interesting though, because Corinne on the way down said to Pincott that they want to be throwing back four here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We have to throw back eight.
back eight.
Okay, well, we'll see the way she releases this. We should try and put some stuff on it.
Not a ton of spin.
Pretty clean release.
I don't think this shot's ever there, but There's not a whole lot else you can throw in this situation.
Okay. Yeah. Out.
No, moved a bit, but not nearly enough for that shot.
It was a little up. Either way, I don't think it was there. I don't think you could have moved it enough to get it off that button. I think
Could have been close.
I feel like that double tap on those yellows might have been an easier shot.
And I'm sure part of the consideration
close
is
if it
what
was
does
actually
Nakamura
Close to the
have?
guard.
Yeah, they're just not swooping.
Not much.
No, no, I don't see a two there. So
外two.
and tossing it away.
And that tells you what they had. Well,
Jen,
nothing,
Jen, watch yourself.
which may be why Brown played that shot, because they knew probably wasn't there. But if you miss it heavy, then stays the same. So
Okay, so Brown's last shot, she was just throwing it out there into the weeds and hoping that it would take off.
I think so. All right, so that is an extra point for Nakamura. 6-4. Brown having the hammer going into the last end, needing to score at least 2 or 3 if they want to wrap this thing up in 8 ends. On the way back, again, we'll give you an update of the game and Beth Peterson game and see what's going on over there. So stay tuned with us.
Just keep the rocks in play.
And welcome back in the Gim Peterson game. Now playing in the 8th end, game up 3, and halfway through this end, sitting with 3 rocks in the rings.
Yeah, let's take a look at this home end here and see what's going on. That's your cue, camera.
Line's good.
Home end. Okay. Click it. There we go.
All right,
Okay,
perfect.
here it is.
Line's great.
Yeah, three
Little
yellow
ball if
rocks
you
sitting
can.
in the house. That's Gim. Quite piled together in this little ball.
Great spot.
And 2 corners up. So stranger things have happened. Peterson going behind the corner, just squeaking by.
Yeah, and this is the last end here, so we'll see what happens, and we'll try and update you before they throw all of their rocks. But let's get back to our feature game here.
Okay, and over here on sheet 5, as we said, Brown down 2 with last rock. Needs to get at least a 2. If she can get a 2 and go to an extra end, that
Like
would be
2
an
or just 1?
accomplishment. If she gets a chance for a 3, she could win it. Nakamura has a rock
Same depth.
at the back of the 12-foot, and there's a long Brown corner guard. So Brown now coming behind her corner.
Line's good. It's got a curl. Okay. In the house.
Oh, other turn. putting up another corner.
Good pair, nice Sam.
Which only makes sense.
Really nice.
15-7.
Okay, that rock at the back 12 is not all that helpful to Nakamura. You can bet that Brown is going to be going behind those corners here before too long.
Just throwing the top 4 rock here, or what's the case?
She wants it as a guard, I believe.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
A lot of times in this situation, you'd see the team that's up to throwing the rocks right in the rings, top 4 foot. And here we go with the call around the corner.
Lots of room right now. Room, room. Always Sam.
Yeah, coming off of her. Keep going.
Keep it going, Sam. Keep it going, Sam.
As far as it goes.
Keep it going, Sam. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it
All
going.
right. Nice buried rock here from...
Good job.
Good, Jen.
Is this second rocks already?
Right there.
Yeah,
It's-
looks like it.
It's Team Brown just behind the tee line, behind that corner guard.
Real nice. Yeah. It's dicey there, hey? Yeah. Yeah. It's not even much finished past the guard.
All right, and last stone for second from Nakamura, Haruka. We've got both Tanaka and Hiyori on the rock sweeping. I apologize, I'm probably butchering these names, but
I find it an interesting call that you put up the guard and then freeze to this.
it is. I feel like I've definitely called that chop before just because that rock becomes so much less of a threat once you have another rock on top of it. But it is interesting because as soon as you freeze to that rock, you're playing to the other team's preference, right? They want to throw rocks to the wing, and you're doing exactly that.
And it leaves one of the brown
Four
rocks
lines.
in
Whoa.
the rings,
Whoa.
and they're throwing, so they could
Whoa.
potentially have
Whoa,
2 rocks
Sam.
in the rings.
Whoa. Not there. Kate's go. Where? Whoa, it's got to curl ahead. No, line's good, line's good.
And
Keep
even
it.
going back,
Keep it there.
the
Keep
Nakamura
it there.
guard that
Hard,
they
keep
threw
it there.
was a bit of a puzzle to me.
Hard.
Be interesting to see how
Good, Jen.
how this end develops from their perspective.
15-5.
So looks to me like Brown is sitting shot.
So I was like, we can't switch.
All right, so what's the conversation here on Team Nakamura?
I can't tell because Tanaka's blocking our view of that guard, but it
Somebody
looks,
tell her to get out of the way.
yeah, tell her. They're looking at a freeze here. Okay, so they're going all out.
幅は結構でもキープするよね。ウェイトがある。広いとちょっと来なそうな気するけど、どう思う？トップ4の高さかな。
So is this a freeze call? Another freeze call?
That's what it appears to be.
So
She wants to take that brown rock that was just thrown out of the equation, but when you get the rocks stacked up like that, then you can jumble them around with the takeout. We've got red on yellow on red on yellow. So that would leave on a yellow takeout that could potentially leave yellow with 2 rocks in. I had thought earlier that Nakamura would be counting rocks and eliminating rocks, but she's chosen to play this.
just a little over curl here.
Brown sitting shot over there.
You like that?
Now, before we finish wrapping up thanking everybody, we have to thank Barb, the most amazing bartender at the Calgary Curling Club. Anyone here, anyone coming to the curling club, make sure you tip her
Yeah,
because she's
fully.
amazing. She always brightens everyone's day.
And she'll help you out with whatever emotional problems you're having.
She is the definition of a bartender. She will help you solve all your problems while also giving you a drink. So what else could you ask for in a bartender?
Yeah, perfect combo.
Now we call her Barb-tender here. Anyways, we'll get back to the game. This is Pincott on Team Brown, throwing an intern.
Splitting the rings.
Room if
She
you can.
wants this straight across from her shot
Oh, it's
rock.
got loads of room. Curl all the
So
way.
behind the guard in front of the tee. And it looks
Hard,
like
Jen,
it's
anything big.
perfect.
Yeah, it looks
Anything
pretty
big. Go,
good.
Jen. Go. That's fine.
Oh, yeah, good
Sticking
shot.
out just a bit, I think. Yeah, I got a good 3/4 of the rock. It's always hard to tell from different angles, but from this angle, from the hack, about 3/4 sticking out, maybe a little bit more than that. Nakamura probably calling about a board weight or hack weight shot here. Probably more like board. Do you really want to stick around if you're Nakamura, or do you want to roll? Do you want to roll? How far do you want to roll?
Well, if she rolls behind the tee line, that's not going to help her one bit. So I don't think rolling out would be terrible for her, but she's really at this point a good chance of giving up too. But that's obviously why she threw that guard there, so that she could bail out with a draw behind it and try to steal the end.
投げごめん
And rolls away.
Do you want to just pair less or?
Thank you.
Yeah?
Okay, a little bit of input from her third.
Yeah, important to note that that center red is still sitting there, and you know what? It might actually come into a little bit of use for both teams in different ways, depending on how they utilize it. Seems like Brown is very hesitant to utilize that center guard, not wanting to bring play to the middle. For Nakamura, could be
Still room.
used as a savior if
Still
Brown
room.
if Brown tucks this
Switch-
guard, or
switch
sorry,
if
if
you
Brown
can.
tucks this draw really well, Nakamura might
Still, you gotta switch.
decide to completely avoid and ignore these corner draws and just go right behind that red there.
A little quiet on that one, so freeze on shot rock.
Yeah, it wasn't in. They're looking at either that freeze on the corner yellow there, or just using that center guard that they threw up. Looks like they're opting to go for the corner.
So if this freeze is made, there's potentially an option of hitting it because of all the backing, leaving Brown shot and rolling behind the guard. But she makes this perfectly. It could force Brown to try to just draw behind the guard and beat Nakamura there to the top
Yeah.
of the forefoot.
It really is about who makes that shot first. I know that yellow's sitting there and it's in a good spot and it's got backing, but really, whoever gets top 4 behind that red first is going to have a good chance at scoring. And I think Nakamura's plan is probably to freeze, be shot, because you can still freeze onto this yellow and be shot, and then probably next shot maybe throw one top 4 behind that guard.
If she makes this shot too, Brown could also try and go around the guard, beat her around the guard,
Absolutely.
or have the option of playing off of the rock that's just being thrown now.
Oh. Just barely nicked that guard. Sorry, that top 12 rock.
Okay, it's open.
Yeah. That was, I've seen a few of Nakamura's rocks coming off the center line really dive, and no matter what the sweepers do, they're not able to hold it. So maybe it's just not taking enough ice down the middle, or waiting too long to jump on those rocks.
And it could be too, with all the backing, that she was trying to make sure that she was there and put a little bit extra on it. So not always the best plan.
She'll hit.
You got to
she'll
leave
freeze.
those shots to the sweepers.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if Brown makes this dead nose, Nakamura is probably going to freeze to that yellow rock there, try and capture the win in the 8th end. To me, it seems this entire end, they've been going really hard for the win, not for a tie. So I imagine they'd freeze. What do you think, Jack? Do you think they would...
They've been trying to freeze, so
Yeah.
but that really brings up the question of that guard, why they threw that guard in that spot. What if they'd have brought that into the tee line?
Corinne Brown throwing about what looks like a 10-second hit. Looks like they're going to dead nose it. It is interesting that you bring up that center guard really wasn't utilized at all, and Brown's team did a really good job of ensuring that this end went the way they wanted it to, which was playing to the corners, playing to the sides.
And here's the point where they might utilize it, because if they get the hit and roll behind it, then Brown will have a tough shot for 2, but it will be only for 2.
Yep, looks like they're throwing a hit here.
Quiet wait.
This is a big moment for this team, and it's not an easy shot. I don't know how much of that yellow extra you can see on the inside of that yellow to get that roll. Looks like a decent amount, but anytime you're hitting the low side of a rock, it's not going to roll as far as if you're hitting the high side and rolling. So, oh yes, and while we've been wrapped up in this game, Team Gim, it looks like they did take the win. Am I safe to say that, Jack?
You are.
Interesting.
Tiny roll.
Very interesting. That is a tough, tricky spot for Team Brown.
No, I thought they were trying to roll the other way behind the guard, but this looks like an even better shot.
Yeah, actually. That's pretty tricky.
So in the Gim Peterson game, Peterson was run out of rocks in the last end. There's definitely no 3 in there for Brown.
Nope, definitely not a 3.
So she's hoping for an extra. She has stolen already in this game.
So the reason why Corinne's coming back here is because they're looking at potentially nosing that yellow rock, wondering if they can score 2 if they nose that yellow. I don't think they're going to do it. Looks like they're sticking to their original plan. Nosing that yellow, you'd have to throw quite a bit of weight to get both of those reds out, I'm thinking.
It doesn't look like there's any way for them to get the 2 red rocks out and leave that second yellow that's already in the rings. I don't think there's any possibility for a 3. There doesn't appear to be any space between the red rock and the yellow rock in the back 8 foot.
Not for 3, but for 2.
No, a little tap for 2, I think is about it. Solid weight.
A big moment for Corinne Brown.
Trying to get it to bend.
Yep, this will either send her team to the final or to an extra end and then to the final. Looks like they're going to roll out.
Oh, and a good try and a good weekend for Team Brown. Didn't go their way in this game. Nakamura has been solid throughout. Should make for a good final.
Yeah, so that'll be Nakamura and Team Gim in the final. 2 international teams knocking both Canadian teams out. I'm sure both the Korean fans and the Japanese fans will be super happy about that. But all we can say is that thank you all for tuning in. And there's a little hug from the team. So cute.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, Jack. This is Jack Moss and Lisa Parent doing the commentating on this game. And please make sure you tune in for the next game. Next game should be around 5, I believe. It's not till a bit later on in the day. I originally thought it was 3:30. I think it'll be a bit later. Oh, so it does say 3:30 on the draw, but I think there may have been an alteration made to the draw. So maybe just keep an eye on our YouTube channel, and we'll be live streaming when the game starts.
I think I can pull that up.
Okay, yeah, awesome. We'll pull that up for everybody.
It still shows 3:30 on the draw sheet, but these guys will need a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And they have to prepare the ice. So thanks again, Lisa. You were wonderful as always.
Yeah, and we'll see you at the next game. Thank you, everybody.